something struck me when you said like, so either there's a feeling of separation or part of the whole. But the funny thing is, this is a little bit like a misunderstanding, because there's no feeling of that you are part of the whole. There is no part feeling of something. So there's no, this is also funny. Many people have the idea that, okay, but you know, you don't feel separate, so you feel whole, but there's nor a feeling of wholeness nor a feeling of separation. You know, there are no, yeah, it's funny because many people use the word feeling where I would say that it's more like a thought, you know. There's an idea of being part of something, not here, so to say, but because to feel to be part of something, you also have to feel to not be part of something. And those two, it's just, it's a mental thing, right? I mean, compared to what? So there seems to be a neutrality, like, how you call it, when it comes to feelings. There's no feeling of wholeness. How in the hell should wholeness feel? There's also no feeling of separation. But there seems to be thoughts for certain individuals claiming that I'm this physical form, and I'm separated from, you know, everything around me. You know, there it seems to be an innocent, you know, dividing in, you know, there seems to be an innocent story going on where there's a claim being made that I'm this physical structure amongst other so-called structures, and we are separated from each other. Where I say, you know, it's just an innocent stream of thoughts dividing, which is already not divided, which includes the whole stream of thoughts. It's already wholeness as stream of thoughts, it not to be. Maybe it sounds complicated, but
It's like you need a reference point. Like if
yes,
you believe the thoughts are yours, so it's always going back to you. It's like the thoughts are used by you and you are doing them. So everything is backing up your existence. And
yes.
when there is no kind of, there's no disappearance of this idea of reference point. It's whatever is happening. It's just a reaction to what's happening without, you know, without touching center in a way.
I mean, if you think, Claire, that at a certain point you're going to feel wholeness, I think I have to disappoint you, because
Because it's also an idea, unless it's an idea. How we know what
wholeness
is
is just another idea. Exactly. It's just another belief compared to separation. There's no, you know, I've done this a lot in my meetings, you know. I mean, is there an actual feeling, you know, everyone is looking to the screen, but is there an actual feeling of being separated from the computer or from the screen? Apart from saying there's a screen and there's a me looking, but there is no such feeling. There's no feeling of being connected either with the screen or with the room or whatever, with objects. But there's no feeling of being apart from the object either.
it's very neutral. There's no ideas
Yeah,
about anything until
there's
they come
no,
up.
exactly. So there's just, if this innocent stream of thoughts is not arising, there is no such thing as separation to begin with, or wholeness.
And it's
It
quite
only arises,
disappointing.
huh?
It is disappointing, Sander, because this is what am I going to do with my time now? I've spent so long in Facebook non-duality groups, and if you're telling me that there's nothing to find, then why am I there?
Well,
That's a good
that's not the
question.
point. You know, the funny thing is that is not the point, you know?
No, no.
So this is only a disappointment, you know, when there is the idea that there was something to find from to begin with, you know? If that idea is not there, where's the disappointment? So it's just another thing arising, you know, okay, shit, there's nothing to find. What am I doing here? It's obviously just a mental type of story playing. Oh my God, so I wasted my time, without that innocently starting that whole process. Where is the worry? Where is the stress? It's not there. It's only arises when there's a story about it. Apart from, and that story is just arising innocently. So when you said to me, Sander, I'm disappointed, that whole conclusion was just arising innocently now. If that would not arise, there was nothing happening.
Yeah, it's not really disappointment. It's quite
Oh, I
nice,
know.
really.
I know. I know you. I've learned your way of making jokes and
Oh, you
and
poor
and
thing.
and no, but it's okay. But you see, so it's disappointed because there's an innocent idea that all these types of meetings or Facebook interactions will lead to something which is better or more profound than this, which itself is already just this. The whole idea that it will lead to something or lead to nowhere is already just simply this. And that itself is already not leading anywhere. Actually, you cannot even find it. Where
Yeah.
is it now?
Isn't it the case that in daily life, one doesn't actually think whether one is separated or not? It doesn't come into it. We just carry
Exactly.
on.
Of
No,
course. Exactly. Exactly, Sylvan. In daily life, when there's just life, when you, whatever you're doing, sitting on the toilet, doing work or writing or dancing,
the
there's
same thing.
there is nothing going on when there's no sense of
No,
separation, no sense of me or whatever.
that's right.
It's just life flowing, and then maybe, you know,
It's just
uh,
lighter. It's much lighter like that.
yeah, and
It's
then
less struggle. A lot of there is a lot of space is created. Less warring, but warring can come up still, of course.
there's no sense of you doing anything, when there's just when there's just being or performing activities or working or sitting behind the desk. And then, when somebody's asking, yeah, what did you do today? Then you talk in the doership form. You say, well, I was working. Then in that moment, I would say there's a certain center added to something which was always already centerless. And even that adding of the center is already centerless. So the moment there's an adding of, well, I was working, that is just innocently arising as an explanation for something.
Yes, because when somebody asks, what were you doing today? That's the first time I'm going to think about what I was doing.
Exactly.
Because so far,
Yeah.
I didn't need to think about it.
Yeah. And when you're doing, when you're working, you're not constantly saying to yourself, I'm working, I'm working, I'm working,
Exactly.
I'm walking, I'm walking.
Exactly.
No, there's just whatever is happening, any activity or the inactivity, I would say, doing or not doing. But there is no separated doer doing the doing. There's just the doing.
It's
That's
just
why we
taking place.
yeah, it's just taking, that's why there's always saying, well, there's just what is, which include doing or not doing, but there's no separated doer. This doer is maybe added, in the after reflection or the thought when there's when, but that is just a language thing. Outside of that stream, there's no separated doer.
And then I'm
Outside,
going to use,
yeah.
no, say, Sander.
Outside this innocent stream of happenings, there's no such thing as a separated you. There seems to be a thought stream dividing things and claiming and assuming and concluding, but outside that, there's no such thing as a you behind it. It's just what seems to be arising, as is this whole claim itself.
I think it's interesting, if I can just say quickly, because I think if there's the sense of a separate you, there's also the sense of a separate other person. And then you can sort of say, okay, well, that other person has the answer. You know, I haven't found the answer because I'm still bloody miserable, but that person seems to be enlightened. They've got a big smile and they're talking about what is, and they seem to have got something. So if you have this sort of sense of being separate, then you can say, well, that person's also separate and they've got something and I haven't got it and I want it.
You create others.
Yeah. When there's a sense of me, there's also sense of an other. That's, it's, me is not existing without the other. When there's no other, there's no me either. That's how it seems to work. When there's a strong sense of me as a separated being, then it's a separated me amongst so-called other beings.
And then
And then out of that arises a lot of fear and all that, and protection and personalship and doership and all, So when that sense of center, is lacking, then most obviously also the sense of others is not there.
And then you don't need to seek anything from anybody at all because you have the answers. You
don't have any answers.
Oh, sorry.
No,
you don't
exactly.
have the answers.
No, because it may seem like that. And, it also gives, when you say it like that, Claire, it gives a little bit the idea that, there's something, then you don't have to seek. But the funny thing is, this is not about seeking or not seeking. There's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking. Seeking or the lack of seeking is just simply also whatever. It's just another so-called activity. Seeking for car keys, seeking for money, seeking for sex, seeking for a better life, better relationship, spirituality, enlightenment, or whatever. Seeking is just simply what seems to happen, and when there's no center, it doesn't matter, it's seeking or no seeking. What's the problem?
And seeking continue, sometimes I even seek for something I don't even know. It's just like you feel this movements and strong seeking, and you don't know what it is. And you just feel all this movement like it's a sea, that sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's very demanding, sometimes there is, and you think it's outside, but everything arises in the system. And we try to find it outside, like it's somebody did it, or grabbing something, but there's nothing to grab. It's just like it's like, I don't know if you call it inner movement, but it's just like this movement that coming up and wanting something, and what the hell it wants, I have no idea.
No, and exactly. And the idea, there are those so-called non-duality speakers, we all know them, the ones who are popular, and probably they have the answer. This whole conclusion or assumption is just what seems to be happening or arising until it doesn't. There still may be certain ideas or conclusions or assumptions, but they just come and go. There's no one behind it as a you. There's no owner of that conclusion, no owner of that assumption, and no doer. These ideas that certain people have really found the truth, and it is because they're always smiling and happy, and that's why I know they found the truth. It's just another assumption, or a conclusion, or an idea that when a certain individual is looking like that, then he or she knows, because they sound confident, until it just simply doesn't.
That's the big joke. You're looking for something so special, and it's always it's always been everything. So just the big disillusion.
It's quite sad actually when you invest so much of your attention outside of yourself.
It's always sad when it's your attention, Claire.
No, it's crazy because you have all this energy that went to look for something and self-improvement and how I get better and what I'm moving you towards something, a mission and everything. And when you understand that, it's useless, like what I will do with my time, like this space of energy, it's like what I'm gonna do now.
I'm gonna have to just start seeking again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but It's mainly sad, Claire, when there's a sense of you in it. When it's your time which is wasted, you know,
Yeah.
then it's that's the problem. It's not, when there's just time flowing and going, and when the stamp of personality and my time is not on it, what is left is just simply what is. So as long as there's an idea, it's my time which I invested and now it's gone, that is where the suffering maybe comes in, because it's all about you.
Yeah. It's value.
When
There
that
is a
sense,
value.
when that sense is not there, so what's the problem? It's just time flowing in work, in relationship, or in seeking. It doesn't matter. It only matters when there's a sense of it's my time, and my time is precious because I only have a certain amount of time. I'm running out of time. There's only maybe 10 years left or 20 years left, and the last 5 years I spent in seeking, and oh my God, I wasted my time. It's all about poor me. When there's a sense of my time, that's where the suffering is. When that sense, when that feeling that it's all about you is just simply not there, then it's just time flowing, becoming less. There's, it's, it never started for you. There was never a you who got an amount of time. It's not your time which is ticking out. There's just time ticking. It's not
I
ticking for
know, but
you.
I'm not thinking about me here. I'm sort of on a universal level. Does the universe have a clock, a watch? Is it saying, "Come on, guys, what are you going to do about global warming? What's going on with the hole in the sky?" Is there not some sort of collective sense of time?
Oh yeah, there may well be a connected sense of time. Yes, and
This is also an idea, all of that. Like if it's coming to what, just the thoughts coming, that there is importance to that. But if there's no value or importance to that, it's not going to come up, these questions. Unless you're going to see, you're going to read, and then it's going to come up, and then you will see, wow, yeah, it's important, and maybe I should do something about it.
it's the same with energy, Claire. Time or energy are interchangeable. So it's, either you say it's my time or there's a certain amount of energy and it's my energy which is wasted. But there's no such thing as my energy or your energy. And at the same time, the belief that there's something like your energy or my energy is just energy already.
There's a preference, though. I mean, I hear you, Hadar, by the way. Sorry, I didn't respond to you, but I hear that there's sort of, there are preferences, aren't there? There are, things come up for certain people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right, Sander. That's not to say that is the universe. I'm not God. That would be incredibly arrogant. You just because something's coming up doesn't mean that it's coming up on a collective level. That you can have a sort of personal preference for something.
Oh, yes.
And that's kind of okay. But that's not to say that you need to go preaching and telling everyone that that's what they ought to be doing as well. You just
No.
do whatever happens naturally, and stay in your lane, and that's all you can really do. And we
Just
should
fool
really do,
on
I guess.
preferences. What's the problem with preferences? They come and go, they change, they are very intense sometimes, they totally dissolve, then, they arise again or, never come back. What, preferences are just, it's the same there. The moment it's all about I'm not meaning you, Claire, but when the stamp, when there's a stamp of it's my preference, and it's a bad one, when there's an additional layer, let's say it like that, when there's an additional layer going on, claiming it to be your preference, then it gets very entangled and personal, because there seems to be people having ideas about preferences, wrong. Then you have suddenly wrong preferences, good preferences, and all that.
And then you become a good person because you think about others, about the world. It's again about you.
I think there's a real desire here for everyone to agree. and I don't know if anyone agrees,
Yeah.
but there's a sort of part of me that wants us all to have the same preference.
That's clear. That's so clear, Claire. I mean, you know, you're like you want everyone on the same page. You know, you want everyone to agree, you know, on a common level. You know, and there seems, this is beautiful. I mean, this is not playing out here. You know, there's no interest for everyone to agree, and more than that, you know, it will never happen. It will never happen, and it needs not to happen. And I would even suggest that if it happens that everyone would agree, then it would probably not be better. Because if there's a certain agreement that, you know, we all have to do the same thing, then probably a bunch of other so-called things will not be done, and we'll get a mess on that level. So, you know, I think in that way, you know, never is everyone going to agree. It will never happen. It's the same with, you know, with peace. It will never be peace. It doesn't need to be peace either. You know, it will never happen.
It can happen for you. I mean, I can say there's peace on earth because that's how I see earth, or that's how I see the world. I can say everyone agrees because I can see, okay, yeah, sure, that you maybe don't see things on an intellectual level, but there can still be an agreement about the fact that we're all humans. You just might say, oh yeah, but you're English and I'm American, or you're this, you're male and I'm female. You know, that's what, but you can still have that sense of agreement, you know, on a deeper level like that I still think you can have.
But how you mean, on which deeper level?
Well, I guess on a universal level, like there's, you know, there's the sort of there's the kind of natural truth that we all come from the same thing. I mean, we're made up of the same substance, aren't we?
Yeah, but then again, you know, the funny thing is, who is we made up of? You know, how you mean we? So in a way, you're talking about there are many individuals who are made up of the same stuff, which already is like a like a very divided statement, you know. So it's like, you know, oneness. We are all part of this oneness, and all, if all together we create a oneness. And you know, I mean, I'm not bagging you. It's beautiful, you know, these ideas. And um
It's like ideas about certain value that it, as a we as something it's considered to be as a good thing, um, but it stays as ideas about a perfect world, about how things should be better. Um, I remember when I was young, at home, I prefer that everybody will stay in peace at home, and yeah, that was a preference, because not liking when there is fights and there is all this you know, nervousness and everything. For a kid, it's like the most horrible thing to see the household on fire.
yeah.
So naturally you will try to find a way how everything will be calm again, or everything will be peaceful. And so there is like not liking, not peaceful, and looking how everything will be perfect. But in a way, um, you understand that just because you judge not peaceful as something wrong, it doesn't mean there is tendency to go as a value for peace. Because if there is idea that fight or avoiding that, um, it's wrong. So of course you're gonna go always for helping and tendency how everything will become. And then there is just when this drop, you understand that you cannot avoid anything. The fight will happen, and it's like a part of it, of the system. So there is like, if you don't have idea that fighting or whatever happens that's look negative is wrong, so you don't have any preference what is good, in a way.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I wouldn't say it was wrong. It's as you know, it's just something that I often we have different thoughts come into our heads, don't we? And it's just something that I think a lot about, how as a unit on a universal level there is agreement, but that's not to say that that's true. That's not to say that that's a fact and everyone has to agree with me. It's not to say that there's anything wrong with anything right now, but then at the same time there is something wrong. You can also say,
Yes.
there's something wrong, but there also is something wrong. Like the war in Ukraine is wrong. Yeah, at the same time it's not wrong. You can't label these things, but you also can, because as we said, to be human is a paradox. So we can't speak without contradicting ourselves.
Of course.
So I think both can be true.
Yeah. And there is no holder. We can have conversation and then tell you, oh, it's horrible what's happening in Ukraine, but it's just like left after. I'm not holding this idea. There is like just spontaneity of ideas that's coming up, and there is preference, but there is no, it's not sitting here and I say it's my ideas and this should be this way or that way. It's just like floating in the air and with preferences.
Yeah, and it's Claire, for everyone to agree, there needs to be control in an absolute way. And when there is no such thing. There's simply no control. And even, I said this before, the sense or the belief that there is control, or the feeling that you are in control, or the lack of that feeling, or the thought that there is something like control, all that itself is already uncontrollable. The belief in control, the feeling I am in control, or the feeling I'm not in control, all that is already uncontrollable. For everyone to agree, so-called everyone to agree, to be on the same page, there needs to be a large control, an absolute control to reach such a thing. And it's simply not there. So there's
an idea.
Sorry?
That's an idea, saying it's not there.
Yes. Well, you can call it an idea or a belief or a conclusion or an assumption. Of course, it's an idea or belief or conclusion. But that's also the opposite. The idea that there isn't such a thing is also just an idea or a belief or a concept. Or the idea that there is such a thing. So the idea that there is control, or the lack of that idea, is both an idea, and both are controllable and uncontrollable at the same time. There's just simply no way to it. So, what Hadar was saying, of course, there seems to be, and we all, maybe experience that. It seems to be natural for things to be at ease, in peace, in situations, that's just simply how it seems to work. This, whatever it is, seems to want stability. That's it. Go ahead.
No, I was listening, and there are things that all of us, if we are all of us, will automatically agree with, because we all need to breathe, we need to eat, and our normal tendency is to keep alive.
Yeah, but that's just a body thing. There seems to be a body which, without oxygen, it's, as far as it seems, when there's no oxygen flowing, this body will stop functioning.
Exactly.
That's simply how it is. And then there may also seem to be the sense that I need oxygen, that it's my body, that it's about me. But that sense may also not be there. So when there's a claim being made that we all need oxygen and we all can be, yes, I totally agree. Physical forms doesn't seem to function without oxygen. It's for plants, it's for animals. But the idea that it's all about you, or that there is someone, as a separated being in that body needing oxygen for who that body is functioning, that's a whole other level.
Yeah, but you don't need to actually think about my oxygen on me, because if you don't have oxygen, you will act accordingly without thinking to try to carry on.
The body will, it seems that the body will, if there's no oxygen, it will try to get oxygen.
That's right.
That's how
That's
it
it.
functions. Yeah. But that's just the raw functioning. And within that functioning, there may also be an idea or a sense of my oxygen, my body not functioning, or the
if you're
lack
on
of
a plane,
body.
you want your mask, not the neighbor. It's my oxygen, so you can't have it. It's mine.
Yeah. So
on the plane,
there can be a sense of ownership, it's or not. So it's just how it seems to function. The body needs, and when the body doesn't get, when someone, it also seems so that when the body is attacked, it will defend itself. It doesn't need a you to defend itself.
That's what
it's just how it functions.
It's exactly what I was trying to say. That actually you don't need a you for all of us to be to be the same, because we all will react the same way, more or less.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, yes. In general, there's the same reaction,
So I think there could be a sort of agreement on the fact that we are supporting life, not because of any other reason that if we don't, we die, and we're not programmed to die too quickly.
Yes, but that statement, we all support life, here it's already life. The whole statement, we all support life, or the lack of that statement, is already life. What else? As the statement, there's just life. There's life claiming we all need life.
Well, it would seem actually that if you go outside non-duality, you talk about the world in general, that we can all observe, then you find some people are damaging our chances to breathe oxygen.
Everything can happen.
But still life.
We can happen,
still life.
And we can act upon what's happening.
So different ideas.
Yeah.
In different systems, and it's just ideas working in the physical world, and doing some certain actions. But it's only ideas doing this thing.
But Sylvan, when you say when we leave non-duality, this is like a kind of misnomer, right? I mean,
it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because for some people, non-duality would appear as a concept. I know that for the people who are in it, it's not the same. But there's a lot of people on this planet, not all, as you say, agreeing on the same things. So you need to actually take everything into account. And unless you get the whole world to be non-dualistic.
So Sylvan, there's no people as separate individuals that doing things. There's no non-duality, because it's whatever it's happening, you cannot know why and what. So it's just like ideas being applied in a certain way. It's just ideas expressing. So you don't see it as individuals or people. It just whatever expressed. If it's good or bad, there's no more a notion for good or bad.
So
do you mean that actually you exclude ideas, or so that we don't cause ideas? We are able to have ideas.
No, there's no weird. There's only ideas.
There's obviously are we's on the planet.
No, you don't have the ideas. You don't own the ideas.
No, but I might act upon ideas which come in my head.
You will act, upon ideas.
And other people will act on their ideas coming into their heads.
Yeah, but there's no people just acting upon ideas.
There's no people acting as a separate someone acting upon something.
Well, tell that to Mr. Putin.
Yeah, but things get very polarized when we take in wars and all that types of stuff.
Yes, it's pretty important.
Yeah, but listen, I would claim that, when we take Mr. Putin, and I know it's all polarized with war, can it be, that the idea, I'm going to take a country, because I can do it, and I think I should do it. That thought may just simply arise in a so-called individual. The idea to invade a country is as innocent as the claim it's innocent or it's not innocent. So the idea to invade a country is innocent, but it's also innocent. And with innocent, I mean there's no separated doer behind the need to go into another country. There's no little guy in Putin, apart from that idea. There's just an idea. If I think it's right to kill people, until that idea just simply fades out or shifts into another idea. But the idea that Putin is an idiot, and there are many people who think Putin is an idiot, and there are also many people who don't think Putin is an idiot. Both are equally innocently arising. Thoughts that Putin is an asshole or not, and that he should be killed or not, it's just innocently happening. There's no you, doing that thought as a separated individual doing thoughts or not. I know this is not so nice maybe to hear.
The same as the worst idea you had about somebody. It came innocent from you still.
Oh, yes.
All the
There's
needs
more
you
in
had,
everyone's head.
considered to be maybe wrong for somebody else, they all came up innocently from a need.
The
I'm
only
sorry, but
difference is,
I don't follow that. I understand an idea can happen in one's head. I might suddenly think that I want to kill someone. I don't need to do it necessarily.
exactly.
No,
So,
yeah.
exactly. So then, maybe everyone, so-called everyone, ideas come and go, which also maybe is wishing your neighbor or the guy driving you off in the highway to die. That is just arising in a moment, and then happening that the action will, that you try to follow him with your car or not, is just another thought. Well, it's just what's happening. It's innocent.
And if this system of children will be in such a rage and such a anger and this need to kill somebody will come up, it might come up.
Yes.
But I mean, are you saying that actually, if that happens, you do nothing about it? Because
No, wait. Here we go. This is the funny thing. It's always so you just do nothing. Yeah, but this is number one on the misunderstanding. So you just do nothing. No, there's already not a you doing anything, able to do nothing. There is no you as a separated doer doing something, able to do nothing. At the same time, doing nothing may happen. Yes. So maybe, coming in a situation when there is a crime, you go to your home, you walk 15 minutes, Sylvan, you live close to Claire, you have 15 minutes to your house. So suddenly you're walking there and something happened. You don't know what is going to happen. There's maybe a fight or an accident. Maybe helping will happen. Maybe panic will happen. Maybe calling the police will happen. Anything may happen. Maybe doing nothing will happen. But all that is just innocently arising. There's no you as a separated doer. There's just
Maybe
doing.
somebody will attack you, and then you will take a knife and boom, this is gonna be, it can happen, even if you didn't plan to do it.
Yes, but even if it all happens, innocently, as you explained, which I appreciate, of course, it's still you, which is happening at the time, at the place. There's nobody else but you.
Well, yeah, but that idea, the whole claim, yes, in a way you're right. As far as it seems, from so-called others, they say, well, it's you, you exactly. Are that body, but that's just another idea that you are the physical form. There is no you who is that body. There's just that is again identification with physical form. So when there are so-called individuals claiming that they are this body, they see you as an individual when that sense is not there, there's just the body acting and reacting, but there's no sense of an other doing something or not.
So you
Both can play.
So see if I understand you well, you think that actually the body and the mind don't exist together.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, that the body and mind don't exist together.
It's a global mind having a lot of little bodies.
Well, you can say it any way you want, but there's just no one doing the minding, let's say there's no separated you doing any mental activities, nor is there a separated you doing any physical activities. There's just a certain body-mind complex performing activities, which may include saying that I am the one doing mental activities and physical activities. That's the same so-called body-mind complex claiming itself to be something or someone doing an activity. And there may be even a feeling, but there's no you in between as a separated someone doing that.
It's just a thought telling you I did that.
I
Or
see Claire looking to Sylvan. Oh my God, what the fuck is this?
Checkmate.
So as far as it seems, there are just bodies functioning, either performing physical activity, mental activity, which may include that I am that. It's me. Which may include the feeling, this body is me. Which may include the lack of that feeling. I'm not the body. There's no feeling of meanness here. There's no feeling that this hand is mine. There's no ownership of the hand, of the face. When looking in the mirror, I don't see, there's no feeling that that face is my face. There's just a face staring. There's just a body staring, seeing itself, but there's no me in between. Or yes, there's a seeing and there's a claiming that's me. I'm that physical structure. It's the same so-called mechanism functioning in a certain way, either identified or not identified.
The reason I was laughing, Sander, it's just really funny because everything just I mean, you're brilliant. You're so brilliant because you're like a sort of grounding rock, an anchor in this chat.
It's unbeatable, isn't it?
You're like the king in chess, and nothing can get around you. And there Sylvan and I go trying to save the world, and
I cannot help it. I mean, I'm neither. This is not about me saying you're wrong or not, because it's all included. So when that is so-called hurt, when somebody's talking, well, but Sander, you're wrong, yes, that's what's happening. Yes, there may be, the thought or the claim, so-called this body, which is called Sander, to be wrong. It's just what's happening. There's no wrongness in that or not, and there may be a personal sense, there may be defending, or so it's all loved and liked in a certain way. And when it's not loved and liked in a certain way, it's just what it is. I also.
See, I mean, personally, the way I see things is that actually that I don't call it my body, but I'm in charge of this. It's like being in charge of the car. My body is an instrument I can use, and my mind is actually, the one driving the car. So it's the one deciding where to go and how to go there and how to do the best possible way and having some responsibility on what happens. So, this is my understanding, and I'm not saying that everybody should think the same, but that's very much the way I live my life, and I've been living my life. So, in the concept, funny enough, I do understand the concept of oneness because I'm still part of the whole. I understand that, but I'm only a little bit a thought of God, if you want to see what I mean. So for the time I've got my body and I'm driving it, well, I'm on my own and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know why. and I don't. It doesn't bother me. But it's not as a claim me being this, that, or the other. It's just happened to be the case, and I relate to other, people who are part of the same whole. But whilst we are in physical form, we are to some extent together but separate. We've got our input on what's happening around us in the way we see things, and we complement each other. Or that's the way I see it.
But that whole conclusion and assumption and so-called, let's call it a conclusion or an assumption. That's how it's just innocent. There's an innocent report, that is how it seems to function here. Great. That is an innocent report in the sense that the whole conclusions and assumption and the sense perceptions claiming it to be in this way is already innocently this. I say there's no one there inside as a separated Sylvan, driving the body. But that sense, it doesn't mean that sense may not arise, that there is such a thing, nor does it mean that the claim will not arise that there is such a thing. And that it's belief, and maybe there's also a belief that that's the only way how it should be. I don't know, but that's just all together is already just simply innocently what seems to be happening, and there's nothing wrong with it. How does it feel? Wait, sorry. How does it feel, to be the one in control of the body? Because then there also needs to be a sense that there is no control of the body.
What first I wanted to say.
Compared to what? Because you say, I am the driver, so there needs to be a feeling of I'm doing the driving. Yes. And when is there also a feeling that you're not being the driver? Because without that feeling, there cannot be a feeling of I am the driver. Compared to what?
Pardon?
Well, you say, I have the feeling that I am the driver of this body.
Yes.
That feeling can only arise in comparison to not being the driver of the body.
Of course, yes.
And how does that feel?
Well, that's been good because there is a good reason why I have a body is because I'm capable.
I'm not asking that. How does the feeling to not be the driver? When does is that feeling arising? When does that feeling arise? Not being the driver.
I was asking when you die.
Well, when you ill or where something goes wrong, then the car stops functioning properly. You go to the garage, which is actually in my case, you go to hospital. So people can repair you or can't. I mean, and eventually they say, "Well, I'm sorry, the car doesn't work anymore." Off you go.
So there is an actual sense that you are moving the body.
Yes. I have a choice what I do with it.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I mean, that sense is completely lacking here.
But
in the sense that there is a separated sense of me moving the arm. That's just moving the arm, but there's no additional sense that there is a me moving the arm. There's moving the arm, but there's no sense of a me moving an arm.
No, but I mean, when you move your arm,
it's saying I have the choice. It's another thought coming up saying I have a choice.
Yes.
But, when I've got an arm, I can do that. I'm not thinking about that. But if I take a knife to cut something, then I'm doing something with my body.
You're not doing it, you're just cutting a knife. It's another thought saying I'm cutting a knife.
Yes.
If you're not going to think about it, it's just cutting your brain.
Exactly. You said it before. When there's activity, you said it in the beginning. When there's activity, there's no sense of a me. And now suddenly you're claiming that that when you take a knife, there's a sense that you are doing it. This is where you said before, well, when there's activity, there's no sense of separation. But now you claim that there's always a sense that I am the driver, which claims that there is separation. Because if you are the driver, there's something which you are driving, which is not like that.
Yes, but I
right?
mean, it's what we said before. If you're driving a car, you don't think I'm driving. You just do it. So it's the same when you operate. What I want to say, Sanders, is actually what we were laughing about, the fact that you are the master in non-duality, which I respect totally. No, but I want to say that because only you is like that. And all the people around you, you're unique for that point of view. You might deny it, but I can see it. So I find it difficult to accept that actually I can't comprehend the things the way you do, which is why I rely on you to talk to me, because from what you say, I can gain quite a lot. I'm not trying to fight you, I'm trying to understand you.
Oh, I know that, Sylvan. You're a sweetheart. Of course, you're not the fighter type. I understand it. Gio
You've
is
got your
putting
own
up.
car. It's your own car. You're in charge of that particular body of yours and it's carrying your mind, and you can actually go and talk to people that way.
Yes, but like Gio, I will give you time. Gio wants to talk something, but like I said here, there's no sense of my body or that type of thing. So sorry, but I understand. Gio, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think the difficulty here is to comprehend that the sense of me, the sense of the driver of the car, is always an afterthought. First, the action happens, and then the mind constructs the me, the driver, but it comes after the action. It is sometimes very tricky to catch this trick that the mind plays. You know,
Yes.
if you pay attention, you will realize that there is first the action and then the thought, the presupposition that there is someone doing the action. It is just an afterthought.
Yes, which already itself is an afterthought. Even the claiming or the so-called adding of the driver is already driverless. Even that is not done by anything, The so-called after reflection or adding the me is already me-less in that sense. It's just how it seems to function.
It is a program. It is a strange, unknowable program. For some reason, nature made this happen, that actions, thoughts happen, and then an afterthought says, I am doing that action. I am making that thought. I am the one feeling the emotion. But it's just an illusion. It is a very funny trick.
Yes, I mean,
stop.
Pardon?
Well, that whole mechanism may not be there. And maybe in language, you cannot avoid it because it would be strange. And you see this in certain groups when they try to avoid to use me, because there's a certain thought that it's bad, So when it comes to language or after reflection, adding the me to a so-called action is just how it seems to function communication-wise. Where I say there is never an actual feeling already.
Yeah, never was. It's just a program pretending, never was.
Yes. And, that's why I say there's an innocent thought stream, claiming there to be a me and someone else. Without that innocent stream, there is no such thing as a me. There's no feeling of wholeness, feeling of separation, apart from the idea belief that there is or that there isn't, which is already not done by a you as something, which is a separated doer.
You don't think it happens alternatively between the two? Sometimes we just don't think about anything, so we get on with it. And some time you have to identify as me because you've got a particular thing that happens for you to do. because you're the only person there.
And come again, you have to.
But because, you know, let's say, for example, that you look at you look at the state of your house. I don't know. I mean, let's say it's falling down, so you decide to repair it.
Yeah, but
So,
the funny thing now already you give the idea that there is a you looking to a house. But like I said, there's just what seems to be a body-mind functioning, you know, seeing, and out of that flows an action. But it has nothing to do with you. There's no you in it already. There's just the raw functioning. That's just how it seems to be happening. A body performing activities, which may include looking to a house, which may include saying, I'm the body, which may include, a feeling that you are the body or the lack of that feeling, which may include actions or inactions or claims or no claims. It all just innocently happens.
It
Which
is somehow,
already this.
somehow it doesn't feel very good to hear this message because it takes away the sense of responsibility, the sense of being someone more or less important, the sense of someone doing important things or not important things. So there is something inside that hates to hear this message that there is not a me.
Yes.
It's normal.
I feel quite comfortable about it, to be honest. But I would want to understand why it is important to understand that concept. That
It's not
you are.
important.
Why is it there for?
Oh,
It
it's
is
not
not
totally
important.
not
It is the fact. It is the truth. We are talking about what's really happening in the universe.
And
And
how
what
do we
is
know
happening
that?
in the universe is the lack of the sense of a separate me. There is no such thing. It is an illusion.
Okay.
That
And how do we know that? How do we find out about that?
Well, try to find it. Try to define the substance of the me, of the separate me. Try to do it. Not now, maybe a couple of days, or if you want to try it now. You won't be able because there is none.
Well, I think I've done that. I'm quite happy with what I found.
But look,
I may be wrong, but so far I'm pretty happy with my own conclusions on this. I don't want to impose to other people, by the way.
but look,
Oh, no
Sylvan,
problem with that. Now you are defending something or feeling
No.
that someone is attacking something. There is no such sense. We are just exchanging ideas about what
Exactly.
is the truth.
Exactly. But the truth is the only truth is the one we know for ourselves. I
Well,
can't tell you the
truth is
truth,
a
and you can't
pathless
tell me the
path.
truth. We
I
have
mean,
to find it on our own, can't we?
well, there is no such thing as an absolute truth, which is already a claim of truth. The claim made that there is no truth is just another truth. The claim made that there is a truth is just another truth. So let's not move in that direction because you get stuck, and in the end, you will see it's all just ideas and belief systems. But so when they're sleeping, Sylvan, there is no separated you saying, in an hour, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get out of bed. At a certain point, as far as it seems, the body will wake, will start performing activities. Maybe feelings will arise, maybe not, which may include the sense or the belief innocently arising, I have woken up and I have sleeping. But there's no you behind it as a separated doer. There's just the body, eyes are opening, thought starts to flow, feelings start to arise, or the lack thereof, which may include the sense of I have a good night, God, thank you very much that I have a new day, or not. So there may be a sense of personal doership or the lack thereof. There may be interactions, there may be doership or not. It happens innocently. There's already, you know, this, whatever it is, let's say life, from the beginning to the so-called end, it's innocent. It just started playing. There was already no you waiting in a waiting room for life to happen. At a certain moment, this just started playing. Let's say a first memory out of nothing, and I won't even say nothing. There was just a happening, so to say, innocently so. There was no agreeing for this to begin. It was already just innocently this. There was no you who got this life as a separated someone, nor is there a you who will, for whom life will end as a separated being. It already never started for you. This, whatever it is, as far as it seemed, just started.
Now what do we do?
As the day also just innocently start. There's no use saying in 2.5 hours I'm going to wake up at 7. No, there's just at a certain point there's waking up and thought starts to arise, feelings, emotions, and maybe the sense of doership, the sense of separation, or the lack thereof.
The sense of existing.
Well, I mean, how does it feel
do
to
anyway.
exist? Wait, but if you say I feel that I exist, how does it feel to not exist? There's
I
no
don't say-
comparison to be made.
Sanders, I don't say that. I don't talk to myself when I wake up. Yeah, I'm just awake. I mean, I'm not having an inner dialogue about anything.
But that's what I'm. Yes, but it doesn't mean, of course. But maybe there is an. I'm not saying it's wrong that there is an inner dialogue.
Neither do I. But
I'm just pointing out that there's no separated you doing the inner dialogue or doing the lack thereof. There's just a functioning. There's just a raw functioning, which may include the sense that it's all about you, or the feeling that it's you, or the lack of that feeling. But the feeling it's you doing that or not is already not done by something separate. It's just still the same functioning.
And the sense of me, of I, involves everything. There is no exception. Nothing falls out of it. And we confuse it for some reason. We restrict it to the body mind. But actually what we call I is the totality, is everything. Everything that you perceive, that you think, that you feel, it's already I. There is no separate I that belongs only to the body.
Yes. We can say, I think Ramana was saying, there's just the self. There's no separate self doing the selfing. There's only the self, or there's only the I. There's no separated I doing the Iing, or the you doing the you. There's just this undivided isness or beingness or life or whatever you want to call it, energy. There's no separate energy doing the energying.
If that is the case, why would we be talking together? Because we shouldn't have to.
Well, you tell me, because here there's no sense of
we are
talking
one.
together.
So we all know the same thing, or we don't know the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Well, this is not about if it matters or not. Mattering may happen. It's again, it's if you ask the question, well, what does it matter? This is not about if it matters or not. The idea, the sense that it matters, or the lack of that sense, is just also completely what is innocently arising. So it's not about, these types of statements. Well, why are we talking then? Well, here, so to say, there's just communicating, but there's no additional sense that it's my words or that I am communicating. There's just moving arms, moving lips, moving hands, but
The
there's
same,
no additional sense
if the
of
same
me
self,
and you.
we're all the same. We are one. So if we're
No,
one,
there is no we to be
well, are we puppets,
one.
which we're doing what we plan to be doing without understanding it?
Well,
Is
you
that
know,
God waking me up in the morning and making me move around? Or
well,
whatever,
no, yeah, but this is a funny thing because when there, I think that, when there's no me doing it, then there needs to be a God. God is just filling the gap. So when it's obvious that there's no separated doership, that I'm not doing this, or there's no me as a separated doer, there needs to be something. So humanity created a God because there needs to be something which is doing this. This cannot just happen on its own. So if we make, we put a God there because then there's at least something which is doing this, which we can blame and which we can pray to for better things, because the sense that this is just happening, which Gio always was also saying, or someone else, when there's no sense of me, it's illogical, it's paradoxical. So there needs to be something, then there's a God created and he's moving the body. So now I can sleep because I know how it is.
it's a bit like, maybe we don't want to be responsible for ourselves. Maybe that's why we invented a God. So the alternative is to say, well, what we do, we are responsible for.
Oh, no, but responsibility or the lack thereof, here there's full on responsibility. It's also a funny thing when people seem to say, well, when then there is no responsibility. No, responsibility doesn't need the separated you to arise. The sense of responsibility or the need to be responsible arises freely. It doesn't need you as a separated someone, as a separated doer of responsibility or the lack thereof. The sense of I need to be responsible, the thought I need to be responsible, the idea, the intention to be responsible, or the lack thereof are just arising. It already doesn't need a you as a separated center. So this is not about losing responsibility. No. Responsibility arises and, dissolves on its own. It can be very intense. It can be, not there. It's just how it plays.
What's rising innocently in my mind at the moment is that I've taken the place of Tony and being a boring person all evening. So,
oh, yeah. I mean, yes. If that is what is rising, beautiful. But here it's no. What are you talking about? How you mean boring?
I'm
Tony's
joking.
a beautiful guy, and and yeah. But you see, the conclusion, I'm like Tony. It's just what's happening at the moment. It just comes up. There was no there was no planning to say that. It's just what's coming up.
Yes. But I think
No
that's
you
coming
behind
in my
it.
head because of what I know. I mean, I don't sort of, there's a connection between me and what I've said.
Well, sometimes it seems that sometimes this may happen for certain so-called individuals, which is also okay, being the owner of words or conclusions or statements may well arise. I don't know, but if it's the case, then it's just there can be claimed ownership over everything, so to say.
And it's interesting that when a baby is born, a couple of months old, he doesn't have the sense of me. Absolutely nothing. The whole thing is happening altogether. It doesn't say I am doing this or I want this or I don't want it, you know, and it works beautifully. When he is hungry, he eats. When he is thirsty, he drinks. When he wants to go to do his necessities, he does. There is no need for me. There is no me there. It's only, they say, around 2 years old that the baby gets the sensation that, yes, I am doing this. That's the beginning of the drama.
There's not even an experience of birth.
No?
There is no experience for birth. Birth is just a story told by so-called others. You know, when there's a sense of me, like we said in the beginning, when there's a strong sense of me, there's also a sense of others. When there's no sense of me, there's also no sense of others.
It's a universal impersonal movement. Sometimes they call it God, others call it Brahman, others call it Atman, Parabrahman, all sorts of names. But it's an impersonal, cosmic, universal movement.
Yes, even the sense of personality is an impersonal movement.
Totally. It's very funny.
So feeling like a person is already impersonally happening. It's happening freely,
Exactly.
instantly. The sense
It's
of
a program.
is already me-less.
Yeah. We paint an image, and this image changes every minute, every hour, and we call it me, but it's not the same. It's always different. How can something that changes from minute to minute be called me, something that exists really? It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know. So there's just this, and it's completely unique, and it's completely the same at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
It's always just this, and it's always unique, and it's
Because
exactly
it's
the same.
everything.
It's everything.
Because it's everything.
Nothing is included, and there's nothing included either, because the idea that something is included gives rise to that there is something which is include all, you know, the idea of oneness. I'm not talking about oneness which include everything. There's not something which is including everything.
Oh.
Sylvan, I like your way you're watching with the eyes.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm not saying anything because I respect what you say, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to defend or attack anything. I'm really interested in actually the fact that, and grateful that you are actually doing your best to explain, because you know, that's something I'm interested in.
You know,
and
Silver, you can choose between being a me in a body or being the totality. Play with it. Try to play with it. I mean, you are either identified as a body or you are everything, you know? And then you may discover that being inside the body or being a body is a restriction.
I can understand that, but yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that some seem to have a sense of location behind the eyes or in the chest, you know, as a real sense of being in a body, you know, which I found amazing when I hear people say it, you know, a sense of looking out into the world and all that, you know. Yeah, it must be freaking cool. That sensation is not...
It is, and it's really nice. You should try it sometime.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, like a feeling in the body. You know, here there's no feeling of a location, so to say. There's no different feeling when here or there or whatever, you know. There's no feeling of a location of being here. Neither is there a feeling
Yes.
of not being here. You know, when people say, well, I feel I'm here, you know, compared to what?
That's why there is
Feeling
there.
not being here, how does that feel to not be here? You know,
Well,
I mean, so
until
it's
you
neutral.
until you mentioned it, I wasn't thinking where I was.
Well,
There
there
is
may be
that
thoughts
there.
when you sit on the chair, you know. I'm not saying that thoughts may not suggest innocently that there's a body sitting on this chair and there's a body sitting in a room, you know, but besides from those thoughts, there's no additional feeling in that direction. And those thoughts are just arising as they paint a world with individuals and objects in time and space. When that painting, innocent painting stream is not there, there's nothing left. There's no me, there's no self, there's no separation, there's no here, there's no there.
It's interesting that many people call it Advaita and forget about Vedanta.
Yeah.
Because it is Advaita Vedanta. Vedanta means I don't know, no knowledge. I know nothing. The only thing I know is that I don't know anything. We don't know where we are, what we are, how we are, when we are, nothing. We are completely without bearings.
And even that we don't know.
Even that we don't know.
That I totally accept. I can see that. That's visible with little eyes. Everybody. Well, we've done well. Everybody's left. They obviously couldn't.
Well, it's already late. Also, I have to actually. I have to go to bed.
Yeah, so have I actually. I'm going to work tomorrow. Not me. I mean, somebody has to.
No, but I mean, this is the funny thing that, you know, you see this sometimes people, well, they talk in the third character, you know, or the body needs to go or the personality has to go. But there's no issue with, you know, using, you know, it's just languaging, but there's no separated someone doing the languaging. There's just languaging, using words, using no words, trying to avoid them. It's all just what's, you know,
it complicates matters.
Yeah, it may.
The
well,
mind likes to complicate matters. It is absolutely simple, Sylvain. It is very simple. It is just one cosmic movement, and we don't know what is it. Period. We want to make complications.
I
Go
agree
ahead.
with you, and that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you guys, yeah, Gio, because I was missing you from the start. Maybe the times get mixed up, but
No, yeah, I did. I messed it up. Yeah.
okay. Well, sorry, what do you want to say?
No, I said I made some mistake. I confused the time.
It might have
But
been
anyway,
me, Gio,
thank you very much for this meeting. It was very interesting, at least for me.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's always very nice. You're so knowledgeable about what you do. That's always very interesting. Thank you.
Every time at least I want to clear something for someone else, I'm clearing it for myself also. It's beautiful.
I hope you're doing okay, Gio. I hope everything's okay with your heart and you're feeling okay. I've been thinking about you.
Yeah, beautiful. The same here, Gio. I was actually, the thought was arising. I have to ask Gio in the meeting tonight how it's with his heart, you know? And
it's nothing very serious. It's called atrial fibrillation, and there are very good techniques to stop it. I'm just waiting for the appointment with the doctor, and I will do it. No problem.
Good. Beautiful. Claire, sweetheart, thank you very much for the link. Is there anything?
Sorry, I got the timing wrong.
It doesn't matter.
No, it was lovely. It was a really good meeting. As like Gio says, you share these things and things just become clear. So I really appreciate it's just a great what do you call it, forum. It's a lovely forum.
And thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, Sylvan, always a joy to have you and Claire and Gio and Hadar was there, Garrett and Rosa. We have a recording tonight, so that's good. We will see it.
I'll send it to you, Sander, if that will work.
Yeah, maybe with Dropbox or something. I don't know if you have it.
Yeah.
Anyway, beautiful. Thank you very much for the openness and the love and care. Take care, sweethearts. Have a beautiful night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.